everybody. I'm Erica.
I'm Caitlin.
And welcome to episode 4 of Let's Go Sew, Sewing for Beginners. Now today is really exciting because we're looking at our sewing machine and the basic functions that basically all models share. So what we're going to talk through is basically how machines work. Each machine has the same basic bones but might function slightly differently. You always want to read your machine manual to see the proper procedure for your own machine. Now some machines might need a specific brand or size of bobbin or needles or other component, so you always want to make sure that you are using what's recommended for your machine. And we're going to point out a few differences that we've encountered over the years while working with different machines, but we're certainly not going to cover them all. Okay, Caitlin, let's start off where?
We're going to start with the hand wheel.
Okay.
This is the wheel that manually puts your needle up and down. And You're going to always want to turn it towards you. And this is good because this will work no matter if it has power or not. So if you jam your needle or anything like that, you want to turn off your machine, and you're going to want to use this to get your needle out and to replace it. But it's also good if you want to turn a corner on a project and you want to put the needle down.
Sure.
And to turn that corner. So there's a couple different uses for this, but it is the manual one for your needle.
And we should stop and say, don't panic, okay? If anything happens, like Caitlin says, if you jam your needle, first thing to do is not panic. Just take a deep breath, it's gonna be okay.
Yes, and when in doubt, turn off your machine and you go ahead to changing it out.
When in doubt, reboot.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so the next thing's gonna be our stitch regulator, right, Caitlin?
Yes, and different machines have different ones. Some of them have a dial where you turn it to which type of stitch you want, which you can select a straight or a zigzag or even some very decorative ones that some machines have. You can do this also with a keypad if they have that. You punch on the top of your machine. There is generally a chart with all the stitches that you can select. We're going to use a straight stitch because that's the only one that we're going to use for seams. Okay. And so on our chart it says that it's number 0.
Okay.
And so you would just select the number on your keypad, and that would be setting your stitch.
And we've got ours all ready to go. So but you're not done yet, right? There's 3 more settings that you need to know about: the stitch length, the stitch width, and your tension. And each one will either be controlled with a dial or a button.
Yes, and ours we have stitch length here, which is you can do it a longer or a shorter length of when the needle goes down to have a single stitch.
So longer would be like for a basting stitch.
Yes.
It's going to be something the longer it is, the easier it is to pull out. So if there's something that you're putting in that you want to take out later, you want it longer. If you don't want it to come undone, you're going to want it shorter.
Yes. And thinner material usually also takes a smaller stitch, depending on the fibers that you're working with. Also, we have the width, which is usually mainly used for zigzags, to see how far the needle goes back and forth.
Okay, so a straight stitch is just going to go up, down, up, down, up, down like this. A zigzag's going to go doot, 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 doot. And so that's going to make it either go really wide or really narrow.
Correct.
Gotcha.
All right, and then the last one we're going to talk about needle setting is our tension. And sewing machines have locking stitches, which means the top thread and the bottom thread lock in between your layers of fabric. So they loop around each other to lock them in there.
And most sewing machine manuals that I've found will have like a kind of a diagram of what that stitch looks like sideways for you to look at. So be sure you check out your manual.
And most tensions you don't have to really change based on your manual suggestion. The only way you would change that is if you see a tension issue, which would mean your top stitches don't look like your bottom stitches, or you can see big loops or anything like that, then you would want to change your tension.
But typically you're just gonna, I very rarely touch my tension on
Neither do
machine.
I.
Okay, so you want to start with the tension that your manual suggests. which is usually a 4, around a 4, and you really shouldn't have to change it. If you're sewing with the same basic kinds of fabric, you're not really going to need to change it a lot. So newer and advanced models are a little bit more automated, okay? Correct. And older sewing machines, like your antique sewing machines or the featherweights, those are pretty much going to have just that straight stitch. So it all depends on your machine. So whatever machine you have, you want to pick it out, have some scrap fabric or some fabric you don't love so that you can practice on it, sew it, and see how it comes out.
And we're going to set our machine to the medium cotton weight fabric, which is our general settings.
Perfect. All right, next up we're going to look at the top of the machine. And this is where you're going to find your spool pin.
This right here is the spool pin, and you can do, some models have both up and down or 2 spool pins if you have a function where you can do double needles. But this is where your top thread is going to sit, and you simply just take your spool and you put it on there. And based on the type of thread that you have that is wound, you would want to make sure if it's either in the up or the down position.
Oh, that is good to know.
The way that you can know if it needs to be up or down is the type of spool that you have here. This is a cross wound, as you can see it goes in like a zigzag pattern.
Right.
And that you're gonna wanna keep down.
And that little cap is just gonna keep it from spinning off for you.
So then
that's important.
You keep that down. But then if you put it in the up position, you'll want a, it's an top over,
like a stacked thread.
Yes, stacked thread.
Okay.
So it will be wound right next to each other.
Straight across, and then you're going to want that in the upright position. And again, either way, you're going to want to use that spool cap, which was the next part.
Yes.
I just jumped ahead, so that your spool doesn't go spinning off. All right, so next up, we're going to talk about a reverse button or lever, or however your machine, you tell your machine to go backwards.
Yes. So as Erica suggested, this is a button you engage or a lever that you engage to have your sewing machine feed your fabric through backwards. And we're going to do this for back stitching, and that's going to lock your threads in place so that they don't fall apart as you sew your seam.
Right, so that's something sometimes you'll do at the beginning and the end of a seam.
Correct.
Okay. So the bobbin is the next part, and that is like a little miniature, almost a miniature spool of thread, but it's going to be on the bottom part of your machine. So talk us through that.
So different machines might require different size spools or brand specific bobbins. And this is the spool or bobbin that you put you wind some thread onto it to create your bottom threads so that they can do your locking stitch.
Okay. And again, just refer to your manual. There are different sizes, so you're gonna, if you notice something's not working right, maybe make sure you have the right bobbin for your machine. Okay, so you mentioned putting thread on that bobbin. Show us how we're gonna get that thread on there.
So you wanna put it on the bobbin winder, and then when you want to do the winding, you do based on your manual's suggestion.
Exactly. Okay. And the next thing, next to that bobbin winder, is the bobbin stopper, right?
Yes. That's this little lever right here, or just a piece of plastic. And that will stop your bobbin once it's fully wound so that it doesn't go past what you can put in the bobbin case.
So it doesn't just keep going forever. Okay. Now we're going to take a look at the thread tension discs. Now, depending on your machine, this also might be used in winding your bobbin.
Yes. So as we can see on our machine right here, when we wind our bobbin, it does ask you to put it through the tension disc. And this is so that when the threads are being wound onto the bobbin, they're nice and tight and they don't have loops or anything which could cause catches or snags while you're sewing.
Right. You're never going to want to wind a bobbin just by hand, by sitting there and doing it by hand, because it's not going to be tight enough, and trust me, it's going to make a difference. Okay, and you're going to demonstrate winding a bobbin at the end. Okay, now we want to move to this new section of our machine where you run your fabric through, right here, okay? So there's a lot of components going on right here in this section, but the main thing to know for a beginner, point out the needle, our presser foot, which is right here, and the bobbin case. All right, talk us through, Caitlin.
So this is a machine needle, which is a little bit different than hand needles because they don't have the hole at the top. They have the hole at the bottom. And this is the part that's going to go in your machine, and it's generally color-coded for type and size of needle.
Okay.
And there's a flat part on the back, which is the one that goes back into your machine. And then you know, if you need to change your needle, which we shouldn't with our project, consult your manual on how to unscrew it and put it back in.
Absolutely.
And then the other part we have here is our pressure foot. And this is the part of the machine that helps grip your fabric as it goes through it. If your pressure foot is not down, it's not going to go anywhere.
That's right. And if you have a more computerized machine, it's going to probably beep and tell you in your screen that you haven't put your foot down.
Yes. And you can put your foot up and down based on a lever, or some new advanced models have it where you tap the foot and it will go down.
Or they may also have a button up top. So again, it's going to depend on your machine.
Yes, and there's multiple different kinds of feet out there for different types of techniques like buttons and zippers. You can get one with a 1/4 of an inch seam guide, so that it helps with that. We're going to use a utility A foot.
Okay.
And that's...
So let me show you here. I'm familiar with this machine, so I'm going to go ahead and take this foot off so that we can take a look at it. So this is a 1/4 inch foot, and your 1/4 inch is going to be along the side, and this is also a 1/4 inch foot. This 1/4 inch foot has a little blade along the side, so it's almost like a bumper, so that you're not going to go off track. But other machine, depending on your machines, a lot of them have a little cubby hole here that's going to have other feet in there for you that look different depending on the different kinds of sewing that you're doing. Here's another 1/4 inch foot. So we have all different kinds of feet that are available for your sewing machines.
Yes, and since sewing machines don't generally come with a 1/4 inch foot, we are going to use that utility A and show you how to set a 1/4 inch.
For this one, I'm going to put it in place, use my lever to drop it, and it's going to lock into place.
Okay.
All right, so now you mentioned a foot pedal, so let's talk about that kind of, I'm going to close this for us now.
Okay.
Show us a foot pedal, Caitlin.
So this is the foot pedal, and it attaches to your machine and goes down to the floor, so that when you're controlling your machine, which is what controls your machine, you can use it with your foot like a car, and it is controlled with speed. So the harder you press, the faster it goes. The lighter you press, the slower it goes.
Just like driving your car.
Correct. And I would suggest, if you're a beginner, press slow.
Well, and some machines will have settings, like a slow, medium, and fast setting.
Yes.
And if you are a beginner and you have that setting, it's usually really easy. It's usually just a lever that goes across, and that'll stop you. Even if you stomp on it, it's not going to let you go too fast. So that might be a good thing to engage. All right. Next, we got to get our power somewhere. So show us a power cord, Caitlin.
So this is also generally close to where you connect your pedal or foot pedal.
Okay.
And it's just like any other cord. You plug your machine in. And the reason why we didn't talk about this at the beginning is most of your setup you want to do while the machine is off. So if your hand is over here, you good practice to turn off your machine so that you don't accidentally engage your machine and hurt yourself.
That is definitely a best practice. And then over there too, you're going to find your power button.
Yes, and that's simply just the on and off switch of either a simple button or a switch to turn on your machine.
I have to admit, I sewed on a vintage 1961 Singer for years and years and years. And when I first encountered a more modern, contemporary sewing machine, I had to look in the manual to find the power button because those turned on with the light up underneath over the throat peg. So, all right, so at this point, we're ready to wind a bobbin, right?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so most machines have a diagram on what to put where with your thread. So what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna set your top thread as the normal position based on your thread type.
Okay.
And then you wanna go through the diagram and you wanna snap that in to make sure it doesn't, come out so that your bobbin is wound tightly.
Yes.
And then you're gonna go through your tension disc, and you also want that to snap in. If you don't hear a snap, you wanna make sure that it's in nice and tightly.
Right, think about using dental floss.
Yes. All right, and then at this point, we're gonna wanna take the end of the thread and put it into our bobbin.
And there's a little hole, right?
Yes, on our bobbin, there's a little hole where it's the end of the thread goes in.
Okay.
And you're gonna wanna go from the inside to the outside.
Perfect.
You want to have enough at the tail to make sure you can hold on to it. Then at that point, you put the bobbin on the bobbin winder and you click it in. And then based on your manual, you will want to go from there to see how to set it to put it into bobbin position. So when you put it in the bobbin position, it disengages your needle from going up and down.
Right.
So our machine, you just have to simply click to the right.
Okay.
And then from there, you're going to want to press your pedal and do it about enough to hold that in place. And then you can snip that tail off so that it doesn't get caught into there and create a whole big mess.
Okay, yes.
And then you're gonna continue on by pressing the pedal down until the whole thing is wound. And when we know that's wound is when it's gonna stop.
Perfect.
All right.
Okay, we're done winding our bobbin.
So we're gonna wanna take it off then. So you put it back into the unbobbin position or
Right.
the correct position. You pull it off and then you're gonna wanna snip your thread.
Perfect.
And then from there you can take the thread out of the bobbin
That first
configuration.
bobbin step,
Yes.
yeah. All right. Well, now that we have gone through machine basics, we want you to take a minute and get familiar with your machine. In our next episode, we're going to thread the machine, we're gonna get our bobbin in place and be ready to sew.
Happy sewing.